As Uganda gears up for the 2026 general elections, presidential campaigns are already shaping the political landscape. Hello and welcome to the Youth Roundtable. My name is Nsazi, Caroline Ayot. From the promises of economic empowerment to debates over governance, youth inclusion, and national unity, every candidate is racing to define what kind of future Uganda deserves. But beneath the slogans and the rallies, what are the real issues driving this campaign season? And how are young people, both the voters and as leaders, interpreting the messages, the manifestos, and the momentum so far? I have with me a panel of distinguished guests, and I'll start introducing them from my extreme left. We'll be deliberating this issue throughout this session. I have Miss Adiro Catherine Okot from the FDC Youth League. She's a legal secretary.
Hello everyone, my name is Adiro Catherine Okot. I'm the Secretary for Legal, Human Rights and Constitutional Affairs of the FDC National Youth League. I'm grateful to be here to share issues of national concern and matters that concern the youth and the rest of the people in Uganda.
Cathy, if you would, for a small minute, give us what is standing out for you during this election.
What is standing out for me during this election is that there are key issues, there are things that have come up, especially the slogans that the presidential candidates are using. For example, the FDC, that is fixing the economy, money in your pockets. This is looking at the unemployment rates in Uganda, which is very high, especially among the youth who have turned to be people who are idle and they really have nothing to do because there is no way they can do something and they are just being used because they are not employed. You find them around towns in different places. So I think fixing the economy and making the youth get money in their pockets is one of the key issues that we need to focus on because poverty is very, very, very common in Uganda.
Thank you very much, Catherine. And then we have Victor Odongwun, a youth leader from the People's Progressive Party. Victor, welcome to the show. And what's standing out for you?
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning, Civic Space. Just like you've described where I'm from, I'm a youth leader in the People's Progressive Party. So pleased to be here. My sister here talked of having slogans and all that. I have a sharp contrast. This election, what would stand out for me is the fact that we're having about 8 presidential candidates, and of the 8, we don't have a female, and we are talking of having equal opportunities, affirmative action. So it's really strange that women are not trying to vie for the high table.
Okay, thank you so much. And then we have Nsazi Miracle. She is the Deputy Guild Speaker at Makerere University. Welcome to the Young People's Show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. My name, as said, and I think what stands out for me in this presidential election, the coming presidential election, is the manifestos of the different candidates, what they are promising the people, what they are trying to focus on, and from my end, I'm trying to look at what is really important for the young people, what should they front, who is really pushing for our interests. When we look at, yes, we have poverty, education, I mean, the PDM, there is really a lot. But what really stands out for me is their manifestos. What are they saying? What are their plans? What are their goals? And how should we really leverage on that to choose the right person? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Pal, 1 second. Victor, can you project a little bit? Oh, is his voice okay?
It's all right.
It's all right? I felt like it was a bit low. I was struggling.
No.
It's okay.
Okay, fine. Again, count us in then. I'll just start with a question.
The beginning. 3, 2, 1, action.
Thank you very much, all of my panelists, for joining the show. And I would like to start this conversation with you, Victor. You were able to, at least to the best of my knowledge, observe what happened in the previous elections and what is going on now. How different is the campaign period from last time to this time? What is the difference? If not, what are the similarities and the red flags that you still see?
Thanks a lot. In 2021 elections, we were operating under the COVID guidelines, the standard operating procedures, whereby candidates were not supposed to have large crowds and all that. So by that time, let me say the state used the pretext of COVID to, let me say, handle the opposition. That's why we had arrests during the campaigns, and those arrests were strictly linked to COVID. Leave alone, like now for the case of today, candidates do all the rallies, but again, we still see the arrests. Just a few days back, we had Kenyan activists that were arrested in Chireka because they decided to come and join their friends in Noop.
Let me ask you a little bit. Have they been produced in court, or have they revealed the location where they're being kept?
Unfortunately, we have not yet gotten such info. But again, remember, we are having this election on the backdrop of having people that were arrested in 2021 that are still locked up 5 years down the road.
Yes.
And so actually, some have been produced in court, others have not yet been produced in court. So we just let me say, have a reoccurrence of what happened in 2021.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victor, for that. Miracle, you mentioned manifestos, and I would like you to tell us more about the manifestos that stand out for you, or what your observations are, especially as a young person, what you think young people can leverage on, or especially on these manifestos.
Okay, I think from the first week so far for the presidential campaigns, we have seen the incumbent, the NRM candidate, His Excellency Museveni, emphasizing the PDM, economic empowerment, trying to talk about reducing corruption. But I think our emphasis should be, these are things that have been said over time.
Yes.
So our emphasis should be on implementation. We want to know, how are you going to do it this time around? What are you going to do different? What approach are you going to use differently? Because if money is being dispersed in the economy, we want to know, yes, money is being dispersed, we are pushing for economic empowerment, but yes, there is corruption. How are you going to do it differently this time around? So I think that is a question that came to my mind from that side. Then when we go to the opposition side, we found the Noop candidate talking about, again, he talked about his implementation method in terms of expenditure, cutting expenditure of government, saying, you know, we are going to cut down government employees, we are going to reduce the ministers, we are going to really cut expenditures. And I think it's not a bad move, it's a good one. And we want to pray that these are not just mere words, because many times we see in campaigns, words on words, people saying what people want to hear. Yeah, but from that side, I think that was his point of emphasis. And he was talking about poverty, trying to say that, you know, poverty is here. I think his main rally was in Busoga. Yeah, he was talking about the eradication of poverty in that area, education. And for me, I think what we should be looking out for is how these people are going to implement whatever they are saying. I mean, you trying to say the evils that are happening is okay, but we want to look at your approach. What are you going to do different from what is happening? And from the other members, we've had, many of them are really pushing for economic empowerment. Let's say from the FDC, saying that, you know, we need the money in the economy, we need banks that do this. And I think each member has really a good approach. I think when I look at all their manifestos, they are really pointing out some of these key issues. They're pointing out some of the things that we should be looking out for. But again, it goes to implementation. I believe we should be looking out for how they're going to make sure that these things are done. Yeah.
So let's I am sorry to put you on the spot about this, but I need us to look at the fact that there appears to be main candidates and candidates who are not quite main. Even with the news coverage and the social media flow, it's like you can find information on people who are already famous. For example, His Excellency the President obviously has to feature. Mr. Chagulanyi is on the media because he comes from the biggest political party in Uganda. Mr. Nandala Mafabi from FDC because it has been a mainstream party over time, and so there is no way we can ignore that. And then Mr. Mugisha Muntu, who also seems to get some traction, and I know for sure that he's in Western Uganda this week. So one of my questions is, how come other candidates are not receiving that coverage? For example, we have Elton Mabirizi is not getting the same coverage, Conservative Party not getting the same coverage. So what are your thoughts on that? Did you, for example, when you were, say, looking at manifestos and where youth are mentioned, did you find information on these people, and what were your thoughts on their candidature?
Okay. I think from the other candidates, there is a weakness in mobilization. The optics show us what we see. And what we see is really evident. We are seeing crowds for certain categories of people and very, very few people, very few crowds for the others. I think that shows maybe weaknesses in mobilization or their organization. What did they have in plan? I mean, they knew this was going to come. They knew they were going to be nominated. What was their plan for campaigning? So we've seen, I think that is quite, it should be expected, I guess. It shows a weakness maybe in their mobilization. But looking at their manifestos, I don't think it is really so different.
Can
Yes, please.
Now, with all the manifestos, if I look at the one for Mabirizi, he's talking of land reforms, and when you look at he's talked about basically he's talking of land reforms. You come to Honorable Barack Munyagwa. He's talking of equal, that all of us should eat, should have that common. We should have that. We should all have the same share. So for him, it's talking of, when you look at his talk of federalism, like all of us should benefit from the economy equally. The main candidates, we have been following them. They have the crowds and all that, but the only problem is that there are candidates that up to now haven't officially launched their manifestos.
Really?
Yes. They haven't officially launched their manifestos, so you don't know what, for instance, what's the name of the other gentleman?
Mr. Mugisha Muntu.
Not Muntu. The last one is not Munyagwa.
Elton Mabirizi.
No. There's the other gentleman whose name also starts with that. Okay. Now you can imagine that's the confusion. So we have candidates that haven't mobilized. We don't know their structures. Because when you're coming into campaigns, you come into an election, you must have your structures. What the incumbent does is that if he's coming to, let me say, my district in Zombo, he has the security apparatus, the RDC, the DPCs and all that. He starts mobilizing from the LC1. So by the towards this rally, you have now the SEC members camped in a district or in a region. So the SEC members, you know, when you have the so-called big people in a population, that drums up support.
Yes.
So that is his structure. Then when you talk of Chagulanyi, Honorable Chagulanyi, he also has his own structure of the foot soldiers, and also he has flag bearers in different areas. I think he released his list of potential flag bearers in the night. So people kept he kept people in the dark, then he surprised people. So the ones that are chosen this time around, I'm happy for him because he has candidates even in areas that we didn't expect. So those are people that he is relying on. I think he has done Busoga. I don't know where next he's going this week. But like the structures, when you come to FDC, Nandala also, FDC used to be a mighty party, not so?
It's still.
Okay. So FDC itself, it also had the structures. I think it was so popular in the East. Teso sub-region was strictly for FDC. Though currently now the waves are shifting towards yellow or red, we don't know. So they tried as much as possible. They're also using those structures. Now we have the Munyagwas that have just launched that just launched the party of recent. If you look at the top leadership, I also didn't see a lady, of course. So you look at that divide. Then you have a conservative party has been in existence for some time. There was a time someone joked that Honorable Ken Lucham actually operates the party in the sitting room. So, so the party has been there in existence, but you don't see the structure. You don't see the youth league, you don't see the women's league. So how do you get information about such a party? So that is why it is very hard to debate about all the other candidates in the race, but decide to pick the ones that we are familiar with.
Victor, I think did you mean, when you mentioned the candidates, did you mean Robert Kasivante
Exactly.
or Frank Bulira Kabinja of the Revolutionary People's Party?
I meant Kasivante.
Okay, thank you so much. So, you know, we need to give Cathy speaking time because we've been deliberating issues. And Cathy, again, I'll ask about the FDC. Not because I think your knowledge is limited to the FDC, but because I feel like it's important for us to have that conversation. In 2016, or since the inception of, since the revival of multi-party politics in Uganda, the FDC stood up as the biggest party, pulled the biggest crowds in this nation. And this is evident in pictures and in newspapers. And right now, I think one of the things that stood out for me was that Mr. Nandala, in some areas, did not pull the type of crowd that the FDC would originally pull. Why do you think that is? Also, do you believe that even with the manifesto like the one that the FDC has presented, such an attractive prospect of putting money in people's pockets, that people are likely to ally with the party?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Previously, we all know that FDC has been a mighty party and it is still a mighty party. If you look at our candidate, that is none other than President Nathan Nandala Mafabi, with this slogan of fixing the economy, money in your pockets. FDC, we have been having a lot of issues, just like any other political parties around, because issues cannot miss. Problems come in, but how do you address such problems or such issues? FDC has been one of the most popular opposition parties in Uganda and even known worldwide because of its mission and its agenda. A lot has been happening in the party, but this has not actually made the party to die as people expected, because most people expected FDC to be buried by now, but it is still up, standing, and we have a very strong candidate who has potential. He has potential of fixing our economy. And I would like to also make it clear that the party has been having issues, because remember, during that time of the division, where some left to Katonga and others remained at Najana Nkumbi. So those are the things that happen. They happen, but it doesn't stop, because the party is there to stay. With or without anything, the party is there to stay, because it has so many supporters. For example, it was yesterday that Nandala was in Kasese, and you saw the mass support that was there. Other parties like the NRM, for example, using their slogans like protecting the gains, like what gains are they protecting? Because we are not seeing the gains. If you say that you are protecting the gains, like what gains? If it is broken down, like we see no gains. If teachers are at home and the children or the students are not going to school to study, what gains are you protecting? Women are still suffering in hospitals. They are suffering during birth. So at the end of the day, we see that these slogans, they are just there to make us think that something is done, and they are still continuing to do it, and yet in the actual sense, there's nothing being done.
Speaking of recycling old promises, I still want to engage with you because I know that you have a legal background. I think one of the biggest concerns coming to this election, especially with political parties, but also civil society, is that we need good governance. We need the respect of the rule of law and some type of accountability. From your observation, are presidential candidates in this campaign addressing these issues meaningfully?
In regards to that, I can say that not all of them, because if we want good governance, for example, it is even evident in the campaigns. If you look at the way these candidates are moving across the country, what is happening, what is transpiring. For example, the president of National Unity Platform, that is Robert Senta Muchagulanyi, when he was in Busoga region during his campaign for this week, which ended yesterday, for last week, you saw what happened. And what happened is that he was even blocked. That is why he was unable to access Iganga in the Busoga region. He was unable. And the police was reporting that they were making campaigns on the roads, and that was that was the reason as to why he was being stopped. But this one, it is a direct block that shows that there's still, even during campaigns, they are being taken in.
So why are we not trusting the police when they say that?
No, we cannot. They are just using it as an excuse. But in actual sense, they know what they are doing, and this is a bad image. It is a bad image, and it can even make other opposition leaders to also go through the same, because it can also happen with Nandala Mafari. Get that? So it is a really bad image, and that does not imply good governance. And there is no rule of law. Yes, there is no rule of law, because they are even leaving most of the things that are written down constitutionally, even the constitutional rights of the citizens. They are not, it is just theoretically, but practically they do not what? They are not being worked on, or they don't exist.
Thank you so much, Victor. The PPP has always talked about political integrity, but also ideological reframing of Ugandan politics. Are you seeing this manifest in this election? What ideologies, or what ideologies do you draw from the manifestos? Are there some, or is Uganda not prepared for a conversation on along ideological lines?
It's an interesting one, because by the time PPP fails to, let me say, refuses to field the candidate, that means there is something lacking. So let's not push it to PPP. Let's look at it like looking at electoral integrity at this point. When you have an appointing authority that appoints the electoral commission as chairperson, I don't know, whom does EC report to?
The EC is appointed, the EC chairperson is appointed by the head of state. And
so that means they report to the head of state. So I'm just trying to simplify it. So
no comments.
So in one way or the other, that is why even during nominations, in the developed world, you will not use the power of incumbency, yeah? But EC says the rest should be escorted with maximum 20 people, but the incumbent can come with the number that he feels like. Already you're giving someone an advantage. So PPP believes in equality. So already the ground is not leveled. But then I first want to come back to her when she talked of FDC fixing the economy. Which economy are we talking about in this case? Because you have an economy whereby the cost of business is high, cost of doing business is high. It's in two ways. First of all, the URA assessment is actually it's beyond. Then because if you bring in a Japanese vehicle, because buying a car in Japan is very cheap. You get a car at about $6,000. By the time $7,000. By the time you let us put it at $10,000. You bring it at $10,000. URA will assess it at again $10,000, meaning you're paying 100% taxes. That is why when you go to a bond in Nakawa, that car that you'd have got at about 15 million, you're now getting it at about 60. Then another thing you talk of, I don't know how FDC will fix that, because trust me, when you come to power, you need the taxes. You need the resources. Then we also have the stuff concerning the cost of capital. You have money lenders and banks that are lending at outrageous interest rates. People are assessing loans at 40% in interest. The regulator, as Bank of Uganda, has nothing to do concerning that. So, if I give you a loan at for your boutique, and I'm saying I want 40% interest, definitely I have given you that loan. I also want all your profits. So how will you grow? I hope FDC has some of those answers.
Yeah, he's an economist.
There's one we have talked about whereby we have quack foreign investors that come and are given a 10-year tax holiday. You give them land in Amave. Then after the 10, and then they repatriate profits with the pretext that these companies are creating jobs for the youth. The youth are exploited. You go to Mukono, most of the young people that are working in such factories are being paid 5,000 shillings a day. You work from about 7 a.m. up to about 6 p.m. That's about 12 hours. Our labor laws have been buried. I am so sorry, I don't come from a legal perspective. I'm an economist, but from the look of things, we don't have labor laws. So 5,000 shillings, what can you do for a person? If you decide to have lunch at the workplace, they deduct 1,000 shillings. So meaning you're working for 4,000 shillings. How much is your transport to your workplace? So basically you're just sustaining the investor without something tangible coming into your pockets. And then when this investor finally gets back his money, he closes the shop and goes back. The 10 years are enough for him to get what he wants. He goes back. Then I will not talk about the double dealing whereby an investor comes in the name of an Indian and it is a certain Odongwun somewhere. Because also there are claims that there's a certain Gambanogu that on your 4,000 shillings you're supposed to go with, they deduct about 2,000 shillings that goes to him. So you're having about.
Are you saying that that the issues are not? It's not about putting money in people's pockets, but more about policy and the implementation.
Exactly. Exactly, because And nowadays we are all celebrating that the Uganda shilling is gaining ground on the dollar, but it's not our economy that is even doing it. Globally, the dollar is fluctuating. So that is why the shilling looks to be performing well. But if the dollar, let me say, gains ground, you realize that our economy, our policies of etc. or Bank of Uganda had nothing to do with the interest rates or the exchange rates. So those are some of the key issues I really want to look out for. When you talk of lies and the deceptions, someone has been in power for about 40 years, and they're promising us this time around that if you give me mandate for the next 5 years, I'm going to create 50 million jobs. We have a population of about 45 million. So for the past 40 years, we didn't have a plan for this population. What makes you believe that in the next 5 years we shall have a plan for the excess? Chagulanyi talks of creating employment for 10 million youths. How he does it, we all don't know. So those are the small things that I really want to look into.
Yes.
And when you look into all those promises and all that, you realize that most of the manifestos are just recycled, or they're, you just put something like a makeup on the old one to make it look brand new, a new bride all together, but something like that.
Yes. So before we go for our break, Miracle, would you tell us what the candidates, both at presidential, parliamentary level, should do to engage young people's issues more meaningfully? Because we hear right now that the issues are not being addressed meaningfully, especially when you look at the devil in the details, that nobody's carefully explaining them. And this is not just limited to one candidate or the other, that there is a sort of deception and a blindfold with good English and several pages of well-written grammar, and yet the ways of implementation are not carefully explained. So what do you think these candidates can do to better explain their plans to young people and and to see it come to fruition?
Okay. What these candidates should be doing, I think we have many youth leadership fronts rather. We have many of them, but the effectiveness of these forums, we've seen national youth elections, but yes, people are elected, young people are elected, but are they really contributing to policy? Will they even contribute to policy? I think what should be in the manifestos of all these candidates should be how they are going to incorporate these different institutions or political positions, or institutions for the young people, to incorporate them in their implementation team. If you're going to say you're going to create 10 million jobs, what are you, okay, before you even create the 10 million jobs, the youth, let's say the FDC League, how are you going to work with the FDC League, with your institutions to make sure that that is implemented? You cannot do it alone, You're doing it for the people. And we are saying that young people are many, but we are not seeing these candidates fronting the young people in their implementation. And for me, what I'm saying is that they should leverage on the institutions that are in place already. We have young leaders already, we have leagues, we have National Youth Council. I mean, these are people that should be brought on board to make sure that implementation is done. So I feel like it should be making sure that these fronts are effective, these positions of the young people are effective. We should see a clear work plan of how they're going to leverage on these young leaders, because at the end of the day, they're going to leave these positions and these people are going to come around. So, I mean, it should be that they are training them, they are working together, working alongside with these young leaders to make sure that things come to fruition.
Thank you. Cathy, I think during the conversation, there are a lot of things that were raised, especially from your submission. Would you like to respond very briefly before we go for our break?
Yeah, thank you so much. He talked of how the economy would be fixed from our slogan of fixing the economy and money in our pockets. His Excellency to be Nandalan Mafawi, he is an economist, and that's why we say that he has the potential. He has the potential, he has the wisdom, because in that department, he's really well equipped. And we believe and we promise that that would really work, because he started by, if you heard about his campaigns, he promised to give 5 million to the border people. That is the motor what?
The motorists.
Yes, those ones. So he knows that he can do it, and he has the skills. He's an economist, so we believe that with the wisdom, he will be able to handle that issue of fixing the economy, money in our pockets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is the Youth Roundtable. We have on the panel Adiro Catherine Okot from the FDC Youth League. We have Victor Odongwun from the PPP Youth League. And we have Nsazi Miracle, the Deputy Guild Speaker from Makerere University. We're going for a short break. Keep it Civic Space TV.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back to the show. We cannot talk Youth Roundtable without talking about inclusivity. So, Victor, during the previous segment of our conversation, you were very passionate about women inclusion, but also youth inclusion. And so what is standing out for you mostly about women and youth inclusion, and how is it that they are not reflected in these elections, especially for you? But also, if you could give us just your general thoughts on how you believe it should have been done.
Okay, well, we say democracy, there's no country that is perfect in democracy, that one we all know. And we are building ours from scratch, whereby we have programs of affirmative action. We have quite a variety of issues, but then unfortunately, some of those schemes have been hijacked by individuals, whereby you have people that have served on the seat of District Woman MP for over 20 years. They don't want to leave it. They can't mentor someone. So it creates that kind of gap. So that's where you see the women's space is diminishing, much as supposed to grow. Because whoever finds themselves in such a position of affirmative action, there's that level of comfort they get, so they don't aim higher. So, like for instance, in this current electoral cycle, you realize that we don't have a woman that I don't know whether we don't have a woman that feels like she can lead the country, or they were denied by the electoral commission. That's a debate of its own. Then back to the youth. Someone said being a youth is being a young person is a transitional stage. You'll not be there forever and all that. But again, they also said we need to fight for our spaces.
Yes.
That we need to fight for our spaces, but the contrast, the difficulty in it is that we're having elections each and every campaign period. The cost of campaign keeps on going higher. Of recent, I understand both Honorable Mugisha Muntu and Mubarak Munyagwa are still fundraising for their campaigns. So, break it down. The youth, we form about, let me say, 70% of the population. That's 35 years and below. The economic aspect comes in, whereby we cannot sustain some of these things, because if you're to go into if you're to go into parliamentary elections, you need about 9 million for nomination. Presidential is about 20 million. How many of us in this room alone can actually pick up 20 million and deposit, gives it to AC for nominations? So the cost of campaigns is costly, and then commercialization of the elections also pushes the youth, and let me say most women, out of the race. Because trust me, apart from having a few things, a public address system, your campaign posters and all that, accommodation for the team you're moving with across the country, the population outside there are used to, this is the time they feel like they're actually going to benefit from the person that's going to contest. So someone is going to ask you for that 5,000 shillings. Let me say you're going to buy that vote. So the politics has become so expensive, and the most of the youth, cannot ably compete. Then the same applies to women, because let me say we are vulnerable. We are coming from a system whereby previously we had it that women belong to the kitchen. So we are trying to uplift women. But even when in the process of uplifting them, we cannot say that we have a leveled playground. So those are the challenges that we do have. And of course, we talk of the brutality. Most women cannot, like, let me say, handle that the brutality that the security apparatus is going to met on them during these campaigns. Because it's unfortunate that we are not supposed to have in the military manning elections. It's supposed to be electoral commission with some assistance from police. Now what do we have? We have because I know the army is trained to kill, because they have to. When you join the army, you swear to die protecting the country. So you either kill or you're killed. Now we have the army that are putting on police uniform to handle civilians. So by the time you contest against the incumbent, you're already looked at as an enemy of the state. So whatever pressure you're going to meet, can you withstand it? So those are the issues that let me say are pulling us back.
Thank you very much, Victor. Miracle, I know at a different at a different show you talked about, for example, voting, especially based on regional disparities, and that is something that stood out in the NYC, the National Youth Council elections. How do you think it reflects in the presidential elections? How do you think it reflects in the presidential campaigns right now?
You say the regional?
Disparities, or the regional differences according to ethnicity, tribe, and all that.
Yeah, well, the regional differences cannot are realistic. They're actually there. And we've seen most of the candidates in maybe launching their manifestos. They have gone back to their roots, to their, to their political strong will. Yeah, they have gone back to the regions where they really, really have that support, or they have that goodwill. So regional disparities are actually real. People vie maybe maturity. Some people vie maturity. Some people vie experience. Some vie change. Some people identify with certain groups of or rather certain candidates. They're like, okay, this is my region, I'll do A, B, C, and D. So regional disparities are there. But also let's look at the Western. We have, yes, there is an incumbent, there are people coming from that region. So there are also differences emerging around. People are saying, okay, this person, maybe I would say the president of ANT, saying that, as the Western people, we should really look for change. And then we are looking at the incumbent saying, you know what, we have been here, we've fought, we have done A, B, C, and D, and we are pushing the agenda, we are protecting again. So in their points of strong support, yes, they are really trying to go there, pull back the support, convince the people, but there are also emerging differences coming around. People are trying to say that, you know what, how can we look at this a different way? And I believe that is going to be reflected in the national elections come 2026, because like he said, we have seen the opposition getting support from areas that we did not expect. So much as there have been consistencies maybe in certain regions, that maybe the North is known for this region, rather is known for this candidate, we are seeing certain changes. So I mean, I believe we're going to see some changes coming up come 2026. Yeah, given what is happening right now.
Thank you so much. Catherine, I would also like you to come and give us your input on regional, on differences, because I know one of the issues that came up, that has been existing in Ugandan elections since time memorial, is that people want to vote their own in quotes, vote their own in quotes. So how do you see this being reflected, and what is your opinion about that? Because we also had it earlier stated that FDC had strongholds in Eastern Uganda, and we know the candidates and the president of the party is allied with Eastern Uganda, and they're both from Eastern Uganda, Bugisu and Teso. So what is your opinion on that, and how do you see it reflected?
Well, different political parties and different candidates, we cannot deny the fact that they are stronger in certain places and they are not so strong in other places. The reason why there is maybe regional differences in terms of support, we look at northern Uganda is majorly dominated by supporters of the NRM currently now, and FDC. You come to Central, we see that it is majorly, in fact, it is dominated by the supporters of National Unity Platform. And if you go to Eastern, you'll see FDC there. But we see that these candidates are mastering the art of playing around with it, so such that they get support from across the country. With the country tours that they are doing, I think this is enabling them to get support from different places, because we see circumstances where presidential candidates, they ferry supporters to areas where they do not have supporters. Like they can carry people with buses from a given place to another place to make people think that they have supporters, and yet in real life the supporters are not there. So they have tried, but that cannot actually bring out the what, because it is costly. That's why it favors the NRM people, like the way they carried supporters to Kololo after the nominations from different parts of the country, because in Central they do not have so many supporters. So at the end of that day, they resort to ferrying supporters, but at the end of that day, it will not actually bring out that support. So just have to work more harder, mobilize, and move across the country. I pity the independent candidates, because for them, you come alone in your race, and you really have a very huge burden of trying to convince people to follow you. But there are people who have followers, people who support them, block supporters of NRM, block supporters of FDC, block supporters of NUP. So I advise them to work more harder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, of course, we will get into another bit of the conversation, which is the credibility of elections. Will we have free and fair, credible elections? Victor, the the EC, one of the biggest questions is whether or not the Independent Electoral Commission has the capacity to hold free and fair elections in Uganda.
That's why I'm laughing at the question, because let me first say no. No. Let us first start with the simple issues. When we had rusty elections, we call it rusty, in 2021, because we all said we need electoral reforms. Like even before 2021, 2016, those were bloody elections. We called for electoral reforms. Guess what happened? It used to be electoral commission. They just added the word independent electoral commission. That was it. So what changed? Nothing. 2021, we had an electoral ceremony. Nothing changed. So what makes us think this one is going to be different? God knows. Because the reason being, the issues that are always pointed are what EC can handle. I think right from around 2011, people within Kampala that are closer to the EC stores, ITC, always receive their electoral materials late. If elections are to start at 8 a.m., theirs will come at midday. Such kind of stuff. Then those ping pong games continue. Then you also have the element of now authoritarianism this time round. Okay, previously we had CDFs that were silent during elections. Now this one here, we have a family in charge of the army, in charge of the state coffers, in charge of what. So the son of the president comes out bluntly and says, before even nominations, that all candidates will be will have guards from what? The SFC. It came to pass. We all saw it. So already they're dictating. What comes in next? We shall not have any other candidate. We shall not have any other civilian president after my father. So we can clearly see the direction we are taking. So how many civilians do you have in the rest? About 6. Then there are 2 army veterans, the incumbent and General Muntu, of which we all know where Muntu stands. Muntu is that person that is talking of time, vindicating very many wrongs. So this time we have a partisan army, and they're not afraid to show it. The previous ones were at least, they'll do it chini. But now, this chini as in low key. So this one here, they blatantly show it. You go to social media, different army personnel are swearing. Even junior officers are swearing that no one should mess up with the system. Sometimes you put yourself in Biabakama's shoes. What would you do? His hands are already tied. Look at it in another perspective. Let us we have looked at authoritarianism. Let's look at the EC itself. You cannot tell me that someone who garnered about 30% of the votes in the last elections can fail to raise signatures for nomination. You cannot tell me that someone that you nominated without effort, that is Katumba, this time around does not have signatures. So did the people that signed for him last time all die? we have such a question. We are saying we don't have a female candidate, and Honorable Nancy Kalembe contested last time. This time around, she doesn't meet the requirements. So you can already see where we are. And come January, we are just going to confirm what we confirmed in 2021. That is my humble submission.
Thank you very much. Miracle, I am going to bring you to talk about, of course, civic education in relation to the role of the EC and, of course, the human rights, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, who are responsible for this. So, in this election, data says that we have a surge of 5 million new young voters, and many of them have very limited or no civic education. But also in terms of voter education, people are not aware of the roadmap and all that. How does that reflect on the credibility of elections coming in?
I think civic engagement is very, very much key. And like you said, we have new voters who are not in the know. I would go back to the institutions. Even before we look at the people who have come around, we have people in education already, but they are quite not interested. They're not bothered. I have many young people I know that are saying, I'm not voting. I'm not going to go in that. I'm not engaged. Majorly because they might be aware of everything, but they don't trust the process. They're going to be like, even if I go and exercise my rights, it is not going to be reflected. I rather let go. So there is that part of, yes, some are not aware, but some are aware, but they're not trusting the process. So for the people that are not aware, it goes back to what we study. I believe political science is no longer at Makerere University. Yet it is very, very much key. I mean, not everyone is going to be a major politician, but everyone should know, because politics rather influences each and everything that happens in our economy and society. So it goes back to perhaps, should it be some sort of, we do sociology, we study societies, should it be sort of incorporated in maybe what we do, what we study? Because at the end of the day, it is important, whether you agree or not. It is very, very much important. And for the people, many children and many young people are not in education, many are not in employment. And at the end of the day, they don't have access to information. I know very many people, most times, information is disbursed through social media. When you want to know what's happening, you go tap, all handles and see what is really happening. But many people don't have access. Imagine the people in the villages. The only time they know about campaigns is when a campaign trail is moving around in their village. So at the end of the day, I think it goes back to the real problems in society. Many people are not in education. They cannot access that knowledge. Because when I'm in education, I'll know that, Miracle, this is what is happening. Teachers are on strike because of politics. So at the end of the day, I'm in the know, but many people are not in education. They cannot know what is happening. Many young people are not in employment. So at the end of the day, I think it brings three important key issues. The issues that affect our economy, they start from there. When I'm in education, I might know. I will know that this is what is done, this is happening like this, politics is influencing, and how can I really exercise my role? But at the end of the day, the people who actually know, but they don't trust the process. We have seen youth elections, and people are saying, this has happened, the electoral commission has done A, B, C, and D, let voting. I mean, they know their rights, but they don't trust the process. At the end of the day, they are going to just ignore it. So that's really what comes in my mind.
Many people say that young people just deliberately do not want to get involved. And there is a popular saying that especially the Gen Z just do not care. There's so much apathy. They don't want to know what's going on. What is your opinion on that? Do you believe that young people are unwilling to be engaged, or it is just circumstances that are putting us in this position?
No, it is two-way. The circumstances, I think, weigh even more than anything. We've seen, now let's say the elections that happened this year, the Kawempe by-elections. I mean, if you witness such brutality, you're going to say, there is no reason as to why I should be engaging. So the circumstances already in the society really push some of the young people away from these. Very, very few people are unwilling. They are unwilling because of certain issues that are happening. Brutality generally,
Thank you very much. Victor, I will come to you, but let me go to Cathy and then, to balance up the conversation. And Cathy, we're talking about how the process is not credible. We know that courts are supposed to help us resolve issues, especially in terms of conflict. In the previous elections, I don't think people have successfully accepted even the court rulings. It seems since the inception, the revival of multi-party politics, every single election in Uganda has been contested in the courts of law. Do you believe that the courts do not have the capacity to actually adjudicate these issues in this day and time? What is your perspective as an aspiring legal legal practitioner?
Thank you so much for that. We all know that the judiciary is, I can say the Chief Justice of the Republic of Uganda is appointed by the President.
Yes.
Under the Constitution. So in such a way, the Chief Justice usually will work for the President because it is the person who has appointed them. And there is no way they can actually deviate from what is in line with what the President has said. For example, if an election has been won by somebody and the other person is not satisfied with the results of that election and goes to court with an electoral petition, we see that the ruling of the courts will always be in favor of the ruling government because they are the employers to them. That is why you see that sometimes the judges will not actually do what they are supposed to do, because remember, there are three arms of the government. That is the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, of which they are supposed to work together, but the judiciary should work independently. Like it should make decisions without actually asking of advice from the executive or the legislature. So at the end of the day, it becomes unfair because they will have to put out court rulings unfairly. And even the chairperson of the EC, sometimes you see if the process of election is ongoing, we see that people vote and they start voting from morning coming to evening, and when the results are displayed and everything is still okay, but at the end of the day, when time moves, like when we are coming to the morning hours, everything gets turned, everything gets changed. I don't know how it happens, but that is vote rigging automatically. And that is why people are no longer involving in this thing. They do not want to vote because they know that even if they go ahead and vote, still the results will be the same. Yeah, we have had the president ruling for 40 years now. You get that point. And at the end of the day, people do not want to vote. Even the youth themselves who are supposed to go and vote, they are just good at noise making, and they don't know their constitutional rights that they really have to vote. So at the end of the day, it leaves people voiceless, and they hide under that umbrella of we do not have work, we do not have money. And yet you can go ahead and work and do something that will make you get money, and you go for what? For these positions. Because if you don't go for the positions, you'll start crying, blaming the government, and yet you can stand out, you go and contest, and you get up those positions. So do not be people who take opportunities of the campaign seasons to make money. Taking campaign seasons as money-making seasons. So I conclude that the judiciary is really unfair because it rules in favor of the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Victor, you had...
Yeah, I want to pick it on from there.
You want to pick it up?
Yeah. I have seen...
From Adiro's point or from Miracle's point?
I will come into a point.
Yeah.
So, had is still hot. the judiciary is unfair. I have lived long enough to hear to see presidential elections and the court rulings. Usually, when the Supreme Court rules, they also give recommendations. There's that one elephant in the room that is called a substantiality test. Court agrees. Was there vote rigging? Yes. Was there voter intimidation? Yes. Was there voter bribery? Yes. In conclusion, it could not change. It could not significantly change
the results.
Are you getting it now?
Yeah.
So, what does that show? And then what? Okay. The substantiality test is something that is hard to pass, because now it is at the discretion of the judicial officers. If they feel like it was substantial enough, they can order for a rerun. If they feel like it is not substantial, they let me say declare the results that are presented are fine. So in such a case, if each and every electoral cycle has the same issues being brought, and the findings are always the same, but again, nothing is done at the end of it. What does that show? So you have, she said, you have a certain victor that loses interest in the elections because you saw what happened in Kawempe. People are beaten in broad daylight. I have, let me say, I also have my elders in the village, and today they decide to watch news.
Yes.
And they see their son being flogged to capacity. How would they feel? Then besides that, when you talk of civic education, that is a role that's under, you see, and they tend to give it to civil society and Uganda Human Rights Commission. But again, how do these entities reach out to people to tell them about their rights, what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do? The truth is, it's supposed to be through media. Now, when you go up country, most of the media houses are owned by individuals. Yes, government has that airtime, but these individuals are again linked, in one or the other, linked to the regime. Some are former politicians, others are incumbents, and all that. So at the end of the day, for them, they're happy with the status quo. When you open the eyes of, when you open people's eyes, and they start seeing, they start differentiating right from wrong, some people are going to lose their bread. So our biggest issue is that now people might know their roles, but the cost of doing those roles is something that is very hard. Then political parties also tend to come out during the electoral period. That's when they mobilize and all that. Then when they fail to mobilize, they always blame. Of course, they speak the truth of the intimidation and all that. But within the 4 or 5 years, what other groundwork do you do? Because we give it to the head of state before the campaigns began. He first toured the country, and that the PDM tour was whereby he was commissioning goats and piglets and all that. At least he was campaigning indirectly. Because trust me, when someone deep down in Zombo, in Zeu, hears that Museveni is coming to Zeu, already the local leaders drum up support for him. Then let's welcome the head of state. So right now, even if he doesn't reach there, at least he has been there already within the year. You can't take that away from him. But the biggest misgiving is that the media is also a little bit now kind of biased.
Well, thank you very much, my panelists. We have come to the end of our show, and I would like us to give our parting shots. What are your recommendations, but also what do you advise people out there, and young people especially, to do during this election time? We'll start with you, Catherine, and then Victor, and then you, Miracle.
Thank you so much. I would advise the young people outside there, both ladies and gentlemen, to participate in politics. Go and get your space. Go and contest. Don't go and work. Look for the money and try your level best. For the ladies, don't sit down because you think you're a woman, and other positions you are not supposed to go for them. They are yours. You can also make it. And I encourage people to go ahead and vote. Don't sit down saying I'm not going to vote because of A, B, C, D. That is your constitutional right. Go and vote, and everything is going to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Cathy.
Which advice now do I give? Okay, the thing is, my fellow youth, the advice I'll give you is that much as you see like the elections, they're not making sense, but let's show up. Because it's, well, our voting patterns communicate a lot. So let's go and vote. Let's go and determine our future. Because the elections are supposed to determine our future. We are young. We are going to live beyond certain people. So we shouldn't leave most decisions in the hands of the old, because they will not be there 10, 20 years from now. So let's show up. Let's make the tough decisions. Let's ask the tough questions. And I would want to also, I want to be objective. You don't need to only attend one person's rally and then you make up, you draw conclusions. Even if you belong to NRM, FDC, UPC, attend all the rallies. Start to get to weigh. What does NRM have for me? What does FDC have? So that you make an informed decision. Don't be blinded by the party colors. That's all.
Thank you very much, Victor.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think he has actually talked much about what I would have said, but I want to talk about John F. Kennedy's quote about civic engagement. He says that do not only ask for what your country is doing, what are you doing? So I think my urge would be for the young people to be part of the change they want to see. Go and exercise your right. Get to know who is standing for what are they standing for, what are they pushing for, is it in our interests as the young people? Does it push us forward, not only for the presidential nominate or the presidential elections, but also these other elections in your constituency? Who is standing for what are they going to do? I think we should really be part of the change we want to see. Let's be fully aware, even if you've not, he talked about getting into the rallies, getting to know what is happening. Maybe you've not been able to reach there. Try to find out information. Go online. Try to see what did the president say? What did this candidate say? What did this candidate say? So that you can be informed and you make a decision from an informed point of view. Yeah. Thank
you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this discussion. From inclusivity to the presidential campaign slogans and the manifestos, we've discussed all of them, but also the role of different institutions like the Electoral Commission, the Army, and also political parties. My name is Nancy Caroline Ayot. You've been watching the Youth Roundtable. Please like, subscribe, and let's continue with the conversation on our different social media platforms. Have a good day.